G'day everyone and welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today I'm going to be going through my tips and predictions for the upcoming gather rounds, as well as going through my tips and predictions for round 4 and seeing how well I did. Now if you guys do go on to enjoy this video, could you please show me that by liking the video as well as subscribing to the channel if you guys are new. Enough wasting your time, let's get straight into it. Now before we get into anything, I just want to start off by saying that I do have a tipping comp for the 2025 AFL season over on the ESPN app. The link to join is in the description below. If you do manage to get first place, you'll receive a massive cash prize of $100, as well as a $30 prize for second place and a $15 prize for third place. Third place and second place currently have the same amount of score, but one is higher than the other due to margin. Third place is Dead Fishpool with 29 points and a 79 margin. Second place is Jessica Puglisi with a margin of 57, as well as the point system of 29. And the current leader in first place is Mr. Bigger with 30 points. Hopefully I can find myself on that leaderboard relatively soon, and after last week's tips I did really well, slowly getting myself up on the ranks. And for the first time this year I got a perfect round of tipping, meaning that I got 8 out of 8 tips correct, so I'm not going to be going through my incorrect tips this week. There is no incorrect tips. So let's straight away just move on to the tips and predictions for these upcoming rounds. On the Thursday night, to kick things off, we have Adelaide Crows taking on the Geelong Cats at the Adelaide Oval, obviously at 7:40 p.m. Majority of the games in the round will be played at the Adelaide Oval, as it is an Adelaide-based round. The Crows have won 3 out of their first 4 games of the season and were arguably robbed last week after Isaac Rankin took a mark in the dying moments and it wasn't paid by the umpires. Geelong, on the other hand, have had a pretty average start to the year, winning 2 out of their 4 games. So not necessarily a bad start, but a pretty average start to say the least. Jeremy Cameron has been a strong forward for the Cats so far, and Bailey Smith, he's been absolutely outstanding for the Cats. While the Crows have Fogarty and Thilthorpe, who is arguably a good shout for the Coleman this year after kicking 14 goals, tied with first place Nick Larkey, as well as Dawson and Sligo in that midfield. I think this will be a good game to kick things off for gather round this year, but I think this game does mean a lot to the Crows and they'll get up by 8 points. Now moving on to the Friday, we have the Pies taking on the Swans at the Adelaide Oval. This game will also be at 7:40 p.m. My boys the Pies have been able to start off this season very well so far, and it's been a while since I've been this confident as a Pies supporter. They've only lost 1 game this season. That was obviously against the Giants, but we don't talk about that game. The Swans though, after a shocking 2024 grand final loss, have been really struggling to find some form this year, to say the least. They've only won 2 games this season. The Pies though haven't really had to rely on Nick Dacos as much as they did last year, now that his brother Josh Dacos has been able to step up a lot more, as well as Sidebottom and Pennebury, who have started the season very well. Houston, Membry and Perryman, they've all been really good new recruits for the Pies. I mention this every week, but yes, they have made a pretty big impact. That forward line is absolutely impeccable. The Swans will definitely benefit though this week, now that Dan Houston is out with suspension and will not return until Anzac Day. Brodie Grundy and Darcy Cameron are going to be a really good matchup in the ruck, as they both are averaging 29 hitouts a game. But I think based on recent form, I've got to back the Pies to win the game. They'll make it close, I know that for a fact, but I think it'll be 2 goals, 12 points the margin. To kick off the Saturday, we're moving over to Barossa Park to see North Melbourne and the Gold Coast Suns face off at 12:35 p.m. You've had your fun, North Melbourne fans. North Melbourne were able to pull off 1 win. I was against Melbourne earlier in the season. That was a really good win, absolute thrashing. But I'm sure you guys can definitely tell there's a major skill gap between both of these teams. And there's really no signs for North Melbourne after losing by 65 points against the Swans last week. The Suns are undefeated and their midfield is just really good at the moment. Ben King is probably going to have a field day up forward. So you got to back the Suns. I'll back them in to win the game by 43 points, let's say. Next up, we're heading back to the Adelaide Oval. Carlton v Eagles, 1:20 p.m. I think this will be a very unenjoyable game to watch. I think it'll be an absolute thrashing against the Eagles. The odds for this game are arguably closer than they should be, but in my opinion, besides the game against Richmond, Carlton haven't really looked like as bad as the side as people are saying they are. Yeah, they're 0-4, so look, they're not going to go too well this year. I'd be shocked if they made the 8, but I think they're aiming for maybe that 10th place spot by the end of the home and away season. They only lost to the Pies last week by 17, they only lost to the Dogs by 8, and they only lost to the Hawks by 20, and they probably should have lost by a lot more in all of those games, which is why I think the Blues will have a really good game and probably win the game by 57 points, and that's me being generous. Next up, we have the Western Bulldogs taking on the Brisbane Lions at 4:15 p.m. at Norwood Oval. Sure, this game does have the chance to be a thriller, but I think it probably won't be. I think it will be very one-sided towards the Lions, as they are just a lot more informed than the Dogs currently are. And I mean, they're undefeated. They're second on the ladder. They've shown no signs of a premiership hangover, as some may have thought. thought they would. The loss of Joe Danaher isn't really making them struggle at all. In fact, the young bloke in Logan Morris, he's stepped up heaps. Eric Kipwood, he's been alright too, I guess. But it's mainly just been Zach Bailey and Charlie Cameron. I mean, they're averaging 2 goals a game. And Dunkley and Neal in the middle, they've just been absolutely outstanding. I think Lachie Neale currently, if I had to say, would probably be leading in the Brownlow medal count. I think the Lions should get up. Let's go 3 goals. To finish off the Saturday, we have the Melbourne Demons taking on the Essendon Bombers back at the Adelaide Oval at 7:35 p.m. I would arguably say this will probably be the closest game of the round, but I think it may be very, very low scoring considering how poor footy both these sides have been playing as of late. With the Demons currently sitting at second last in the ladder right behind the Eagles, they're currently 0-4. Zach Merritt, he's already averaging 32 disposals a game, which is pretty insane. But Clayton Oliver for the Demons, he's averaging 30, so it's good to see he's back in some form after a very poor 2024 season, as I've said in the last few tipping videos. I think he's probably a shout to win the Melbourne Demons best and fairest. The only worry I do have about Melbourne is that besides that round 1 game against the Giants, they've been thrashed in every other game that they've played in. Well, Essendon did get thrashed by the Crows. The other 2 games resulted in an Essendon win, and the other game they lost by 26 points, which is not great, but it's not as bad as what we've seen from the Demons. It will be very interesting this game, but I think with it being low scoring, each team will be in it for majority of the game, and I think the Melbourne Demons will get their first win of the season. They'll win it by 5 points. Now Sunday, Richmond versus Fremantle. This will be at Barossa Park once again, and that will be at 12:35 p.m. I almost feel like there's no point wasting your time with this game. Richmond, I feel they've already had their time. They've won that 1 game this season. That's all they got to worry about. That's all they needed to worry about. Not absolutely embarrassing themselves this year, but I think they're done. Maybe they'll pull off one other win later in the year against, like, I don't know, North Melbourne, maybe the Eagles. Probably, I actually think they probably will beat the Eagles. But Freo, with the likes of Brayshaw, Sarong, Jackson, Bolton, Isaiah Dudley, it really should help them get up in this game. I think Tracy will have a field day. He'll get higher and higher up on that Coleman leaderboard, and Freo will get the job done by 43 points. Next up, we have the St Kilda Saints taking on the GWS Giants. This is back at Norwood Oval at 3:20 p.m. Now, the Saints have actually surprised a lot of people as of late, showing some really good form. Obviously getting that win last week against Port Adelaide. They have won 3 games this year out of the 4 games they could have won. They're currently sitting at 7th place now on the ladder, with their only loss being against the Adelaide Crows. And GWS have also won that same amount of games, just higher up on the ladder due to percentage. Jesse Hogan kicked 9 goals last week, which is really impressive by the big man. I think he's definitely searching for that back-to-back Coleman medal. Tom Green's averaging 34 disposals a game, and Lockie Whitfield's averaging 32. But let's not overlook Jack McRae from the Saints, who's also averaging 32 disposals a game. Higgins, he's already kicked 12 goals for the Saints this year. He'll probably be their leading goal kicker, you'd think. And the Saints are currently 1 for 1 in gather-round games. They obviously lost that first gather-round game, but won last year. And the Giants have won both, so clearly they do pretty well on the big stage. But regardless, I was going to tip the Giants for this game anyway. I think it'll be relatively close, but I think the Giants probably get on top of them by 8 points. And to conclude this round of football, we have Port Adelaide versus the Hawthorn Hawks at the Adelaide Oval, and this will be at 7:20 p.m. You would probably want to see a close game to end off gather rounds, but I don't think it'll be this game. I think we're going to see a bit of a comfortable win by the Hawks. I understand the whole Ken Hinkley rivalry after the semi-final last year, the whole I'll see you in 14 days situation, but I still believe that there's a huge skill gap in there. Despite it being Adelaide-based round, I think Port Adelaide will struggle to get up in this game. The Hawks are just way too good at the moment. I don't know who's going to be that first team to beat them. If they ever get beaten, maybe they'll be the first team in a bloody while to go undefeated in the season. Someone let me know in the comment section below. Who was the last team to go undefeated all season? And they're easily premiership favourites at the moment, if I had to say. And being undefeated, I'd be shocked if Port Adelaide were the first ones to get that win against them. And I'll tip the Hawks to win the game by 28 points. I'd like to thank you all so much for tuning into this video. I hope you all did enjoy. And make sure to stay tuned. I've got a video coming out Wednesday, as well as a full gather round vlog to come in the next week or so. And I hope to see you all in the next video that I post here on the channel. Cheers.